Since I'm a white, cisgendered, heterosexual man, and I have the privilege of a power structure that gives me all the advantages in life, and I have never once experienced hardship, and I owe my comfortable existence to the disenfranchisement of women, racial minorities, and non-heteronormative special snowflakes, who I'm somehow oppressing with my mere existence, I thought I would take a moment to put my legs together and stop mansplaining, and allow the feminists a chance to explain themselves, since we all know how calm, reserved, and silently contemplative they all are. So here are 50 questions for feminists from a man. Most of these are unfair generalizations, but feminists make unfair generalizations all the time, so I don't care. Why is it that whenever you make a claim, you never provide any sources or back it up with empirical evidence? If you are really fighting for equality, why do you actively protest and disrupt men's issues conferences? Why do you complain about trivial things like manspreading and scientists wearing shirts you don't like, when women in Afghanistan can't even show their faces in public, and girls in Somalia get their clitorides cut off? It just seems like those sorts of things should be higher up on your priority list. Why do you complain about men spreading their legs too far apart on public transportation, but not about the women who take up multiple seats with their purses and shopping bags? Why don't you have any respect for the presumption of innocence at all? Why do you think that your feelings should take precedent over facts? If you're so against body shaming, why do you call men's rights activists neckbeards? You do realize that healthy at any size is complete nonsense, right? Literally any doctor will tell you that being overweight is bad for you. Obesity-related diseases are responsible for a full quarter of all American deaths. It's not just a personal problem either. The obesity epidemic contributes to the rising cost of health insurance, and this restricts access to healthcare for everybody else. So if you're fat, you are, in a sense, killing other people. That might be a strong way to put it, but it's kind of true and you can't really deny it. Why do you complain about being expected to shave your legs when I have to put a bladed instrument up to my throat and shave my neck every day and literally run the risk of killing myself just to avoid having women like you call me a neckbeard? Why do you condemn men for slut-shaming when it's being done predominantly by women? Why is it wrong to call a woman a slut, but totally acceptable to call a man a fuckboy? What's it like not having a sense of humor? I mean a real sense of humor, not that sad, shriveled husk that evaporates whenever somebody says something you disagree with. Why do you think that you're the only ones who are ever offended by anything? Why are your feelings so much more important than the feelings of everybody else, and that the whole world should stop doing what they're doing to cater to your sensibilities? Why are you always seeking validation? Why is it that whenever somebody gives you a compliment, you deliberately misinterpret it as an insult? Why is it that whenever a man says or does something you don't like, you instantly assume he did it because you're a woman? Why is everything a gendered issue with you? Do you honestly believe that men don't also get interrupted or told not to use profanity just like you do? Why do you complain about men not showing their emotions, but then the minute they do, you revel in their male tears? Why do you assume that everything a man does has some kind of sexual motivation behind it? Doesn't that seem like a sexist thing to assume? Did you know that studies have found that 48% of men who cheat don't do it for sex, but do it because they feel emotionally dissatisfied in their marriages, that only 12% found their mistresses more attractive than their wives, and that only 8% do it because of sexual dissatisfaction? If you're such a strong, independent woman, why are you always pretending to be a victim? How do you expect anybody to believe that you're a strong, independent woman when you sequester yourself in safe spaces to avoid having your opinions challenged, and demand everybody else curtail their speech so you won't be triggered? Why do you keep complaining about being afraid to walk to your car at night when men are statistically twice as likely to be victims of crimes by strangers, and the vast majority of rapes are committed by people familiar to the victim? Statistically, the vast majority of child murders are committed by women. So why is teach men not to rape a valid argument, but teach women not to kill kids isn't? Why do you always have unnatural hair colors? Is it because your millennial narcissism makes you crave attention? Why isn't that whenever the vast majority of people disagree with you, instead of reevaluating your position, you hold that up as proof of why we need feminism? Is it because your millennial narcissism won't allow you to admit when you're wrong? Instead of complaining that there aren't enough realistic depictions of women in movies and video games, why don't you just make your own damn movies and video games? I mean, there are people shooting entire movies on iPhones now and getting them distributed, so what's your excuse? Is it because your millennial narcissism makes you feel entitled to demand that everybody else change the way they do things to cater to your own personal tastes? Why isn't it all of your feelings are always somebody else's fault? Is it because your millennial narcissism won't let you ever be at fault? Why do you always assume that whenever a man interrupts you, it's because you're a woman? Maybe he's interrupting you just because he's an asshole and he interrupts everybody. Or maybe he's interrupting you because he already knows that you don't know what you're talking about. Do you really expect people to believe that you've never been interrupted by a woman before? Why do you think that violence against men is so funny when violence against women is so abhorrent? If women are just as strong as men, why are there so few women working as construction workers, coal miners, loggers, sewer line maintenance workers, or doing any of the other dirty, dangerous jobs that men do to make your first world lives comfortable? You can't blame it on hiring discrimination when women make up about half of the workforce, yet only 7% of workplace fatalities. If women are just as strong as men, why do you keep demanding fire departments and the military to lower their standards for women? If we live in a rape culture, which you insist celebrates and protects rapists, why is it that the mere accusation of rape is enough to ruin a man's life? Did you know that RAINN, the largest anti-sexual assault organization in the USA, says rape culture doesn't exist, and that the very notion of a rape culture is actually detrimental to the prevention of rape? Why do you uncritically believe it when a woman claims to have been raped, and then proceed to bully the alleged rapist to the point where he fears for his own safety, even when the woman provides no evidence for her rape accusation at all? How do you expect people to take rape claims seriously when you've expanded the definition of rape so broadly that a rape claim could mean anything from somebody holding you down and forcibly sticking his penis in you, to simply looking at you in a way that makes you feel uncomfortable? Have you ever hurt yourself performing the mental gymnastics necessary to rationalize how it's not sexist to make patently sexist statements about men? Why do you insist on portraying domestic violence as a completely one-sided issue when the Centers for Disease Control has found that women are the perpetrators in more than 70% of non-reciprocated domestic violence cases, and the US Department of Health and Human Services has found that mothers are twice as likely than fathers to abuse children? If pornography normalizes rape, it makes men more likely to rape women. Why is it that literally every credible study ever conducted on this subject has found the exact opposite to be the case? If you want there to be more women working in STEM fields, why did you decide to major in gender studies instead? Why is it that when it comes to women who don't self-identify as feminists, you don't understand that no means no? Why do you dismiss all women who criticize the modern feminist movement as having internalized misogyny? How do you not see the inherent irony in dismissing female critics of the feminist movement as having internalized misogyny? You're basically saying, women are so stupid and weak-willed that if they don't agree with me, then they must be brainwashed by the patriarchy because women are incapable of forming their own opinions or coming to their own conclusions without somebody telling them what to think. You always complain about feminism being seen as a dirty word. Have you ever actually taken the time to step back and see why that is? Why is it that when a man doesn't like you, you arrogantly assume it's because he's intimidated by your intelligence? Couldn't it be because he doesn't want to be around somebody who prejudges and vilifies him as a potential rapist and considers him unworthy of consideration because he has privilege, or that he's put off by your special snowflake syndrome and lack of self-awareness, or that some guys just plain don't like stupid girls? You stigmatize all men as potential wife beaters and rapists. You try to get men banned from certain places on campuses. You protest men's issues conferences. You dismiss men as misogynists for even talking about their own problems. And you dismiss men's opinions on gender issues out of hand. So where do you get off asserting that anti-feminist men are just afraid of having their privilege taken away? Where do you get off saying that sexism towards men doesn't exist because it isn't systemic and institutionalized when A. I can point to numerous examples of systemic and institutionalized sexism against men, a lot of which is actually the direct result of feminism, and B. Who says gender-based prejudice and discrimination have to be systemic and institutionalized for it to count as sexism? It seems to me that this is just something you made up to give yourself a free pass for your own bigotry. Why is it bad when men are sexist, but empowering when women are sexist? You are the ones who have all of the institutional advantages when it comes to child custody, selective service, availability of healthcare, social safety nets, and sentencing for crimes. Plus, when you're the victims of domestic abuse, it's actually taken seriously and people don't laugh at you, nor is it automatically assumed that you did something to deserve it, nor are you told to woman up when you complain about it. Not only that, but if you rape a man or even an underage boy and get pregnant from it, you have the power to sue them for child support. So with all that in mind, why are you so afraid of recognizing your privilege? So that's 50 questions for feminists. If you have any questions of your own, put them in the comments below, and don't forget to rate this video and subscribe.